This is the Fantasy Huddle. I'm Randy Shaver along with Kevin Gorg. The show presented by Aquarius Home Services and brought to you by Minnesota Masonic Charities, 10K Construction, and Lexus of Maplewood and Wayzata. In just a few minutes, we're going to give you another keyword for a chance to win a pair of Vikings tickets on Christmas Day. But first, we've got a lot to cover on this Thanksgiving week. It's a weird schedule in the sense that the main slate that you would normally play on FanDuel is a lot smaller than normal, the Sunday slate. But we've got a lot to get through, and certainly I know a lot of people like to play Thanksgiving Day games and lump those three or maybe even the Black Friday game all together as kind of 1 week. So we've got a lot to cover. What's on your mind today, Gorg? What's bothering you about fantasy right now? What are you hopeful for? What's on your mind?
Well, what's on my mind is how weird this week is because all the best games are on Thursday and Friday as I look at the fantasy options in those 2 days. You mentioned the main slate. It's a dog, to be honest, on the weekend. It's not great, but I am excited for Thanksgiving. The other thing that's on my mind, listen, I'm wearing my Broncos hat. I'm a believer, but I also love the purple and gold. And for all my friends that are Vikings fans here locally, I think last week's loss kind of signals the end of the end as far as this season and really any hopes of this season turning out to be a playoff season and beyond. And now we have to wait and see what we've got. We could have the debut of Max Brosmer. I know Gopher fans are excited about that. I feel bad, though, Randy, for J.J. McCarthy because he's taking a ton of heat here locally right now. The kid's made 6 starts, so I think we have to maybe take a deep breath and take a step back and let the kid develop later this year into next year because right now I think people are a little over the top.
Well, I agree with you in one sense, but I also say this is professional sports. And so he sat out all of last year, had a chance to observe and watch all of last year, has had all this time to get ready for this season. And I think last week's game it probably put a lot of Vikings fans over the edge because you just didn't see a lot of positive signs that the growth is happening the way that people would like to see it happen. But you're right. It's only 6 games. I hope Brosmer gets the start this week. That'll be exciting. And who knows what will transpire from that. There are some injuries we should probably go over. Baker Mayfield, left shoulder injury. Keep an eye on that for Friday. And whether he will play or not. T. Higgins is in concussion protocol. Yeah. Ray Rice did come back not Ray Rice, the receiver Rice for Kansas City came back from a hamstring injury. But keep an eye on that. I know that Alvin Kamara's got an MCL knee that's bothering him. Flacco's got a finger. Joe Burrows may play. That's a possibility. If not this week, then likely the next week. So there's a lot of things going on out there that as we head down the real stretch of making your playoffs, because this is what, week 12, week 13. I mean, we're almost there to where you've got like 3 weeks left before your playoffs begin. So this is crunch time for a lot of people. All right. We've got a big slate to cover. There are no teams on a bye. So we've got a lot of games to go over, and we're going to start with the Thanksgiving Day games. We're going to put them all together, and Kevin's got Green Bay against Detroit.
Yeah, Randy, you can make a case here. This is the best fantasy game on the slate. Detroit, a 2.5-point favorite, over under around 48.5 or 49. Great options all over the place, but you're going to do your homework here before you eat that turkey on Thursday. Jordan Love is the quarterback for Green Bay. We know that much. I think he's a solid start here, but the running back situation is still a little muddy. I think Josh Jacobs did everybody a favor last week by warming up before the game and then saying no go because Emmanuel Wilson was in a great position and scored a couple of touchdowns. Same thing. Let's wait and see what happens with Jacobs. If you have him on your season long, we talked about it last week, you need to get Wilson as your handcuff there. The receiving core for Green Bay is middle for me. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, both are decent options in a game that could offer some points. After that, though, I don't like much on the Green Bay side. I'm going to focus on Love, maybe pick one of those receivers or stack one of those running backs with him. On the Detroit side, it's the big four for sure. Goff at quarterback. Gibbs is just an unbelievable option. If you have him, celebrate it. I mean, it's just crazy how good he is.
Yep.
He put on a show last week. I'm on Ross St. Brown, another huge week for him. Jamison Williams, to me, is the dart throw of the big four because he's not consistent. And when he blows up, he really blows up. When he's quiet like last week, he can kill you. So it's a high risk, high reward in daily and for season long. I think you have better options, but take a look if you have to use them. Montgomery, not for me this week. We mentioned that Laporte is out for the year. And after that, their tight end situation isn't pretty. I like Detroit to win a close one. I think they score at least in the mid to upper 40s here. I think it's a decent fantasy option. If you're going to play the Thanksgiving slate, you're going to have to dabble with some of those Lions.
Boy, I just don't see Green Bay. If Jacobs doesn't play, I just don't see him staying with Detroit in this game. I could be wrong. I actually think the next game is the best game on the Thanksgiving Day slate, and that's Kansas City against Dallas. It's a 3:30 start. The number's 52.5. The Chiefs are 4.5-point favorites. Both these teams are hovering around 500. They both are desperate for a win. Dallas with that great come from behind victory over the Eagles. You could say the same thing for Kansas City and their win over the Colts. Mahomes on the Chiefs side, obviously 350 yards passing this last week. Rashee Rice, 8 times he has been had the ball thrown to him, targeted 8 times inside the 10-yard line this year. That's tied for 5th among all wide receivers and tight ends, and he's only played basically half the season. So that tells you a lot about when they get in the red zone, what Mahomes is looking for. It used to be Kelsey and exclusively Kelsey, and it's no longer that at all. I think the big story from the KC game against the Colts was Kareem Hunt carrying the ball 30 times. If he's going to do that against a Dallas team that gives up a lot, and if this turns into a shootout, I think Kareem Hunt is very sneaky as a play on Thanksgiving Day. But I think the logical choices stack Mahomes and Rice, maybe Kelsey on the Kansas City side. On the Dallas side, coming off that huge win, CeeDee Lamb, the last 4 games, 39 targets, 9 red zone targets, 1 touchdown, 14 fantasy points is what he's averaging. While Pickens on the other side, getting less targets, is averaging 22 fantasy points. And some would say, okay, well, Lamb has been dropping the ball a lot. That's part of it, and I agree. But Pickens has been insane. 9 catches, 146 against the Eagles. I think if you're going to play the Dallas side and stack them, which you can do, because KC's defense is okay. They're not lights out like they've been the last few years. You could certainly stack Dak and Pickens and be super happy and bring Rice back on the other side. There's so many options in this game to me. And Javonte Williams, you can't forget about him. He's certainly a possibility too. So if you're going to play the Thanksgiving Day slate, which includes Green Bay, Detroit, Kansas City, Dallas, and Kevin will do the next game, Cincinnati, Baltimore, at those 3 games, I really think you've got to really put some Kansas City, Dallas players in that lineup, because to me, it's the best game of the 3. Kevin's got Cincinnati and Baltimore. It's the night game on Thanksgiving Day night.
Yeah, this might be the most intriguing game from a fantasy perspective because of Joe Burrow. I mean, he is a top 5 quarterback in fantasy when he's healthy. The question mark will be, how much rust is he going to have? I'm glad that they kept him out last week, gave him 1 more week, a little more practice time. Let's see how he plays. I think you can start him. You've been sitting on him probably all year in fantasy, at least for a couple of months. So I'm going to start him. Chase Brown, the running back, gets help by Joe Burrow being started. He'll catch some footballs for sure. He put up over 100 yards rushing last week. Jamar Chase has always been Joe Burrow's favorite target. He is in a complete smash situation this week in a game where they're likely going to be playing from behind. And with T. Higgins out with a concussion, I think, again, Baltimore likely going to double up on him. So keep that in mind, but he's going to get a lot of targets either way. Yoshiva is the sneaky guy in daily if you want to sneak a guy in thinking Chase gets shut down by the Baltimore D. On the Baltimore side, a rare clunker for Lamar last week. I think that will not happen again against the Cincinnati defense, who struggles. The over-under's at 51. Baltimore's a touchdown or maybe a little more favorite. So Lamar's going to get his. He's in a good spot. If you can use him this week, I think you're going to be in for a good day. Derrick Henry is a little touchdown dependent because he doesn't catch the football, but he had 2 touchdowns last week, and Cincy's defense can't stop anybody. Zay Flowers, a no-brainer, and here's where I'm going to get sneaky in daily fantasy. I'm finally going to make a decision because Hunter Henry proved us right again last week. Cincinnati's that Christmas gift that keeps on giving to the tight end position. I'm going to put Mark Andrews in my lineups. I'm going to key him with Lamar and try to get lucky on some of my DraftKings because I do believe they're going to go to Andrews in the red zone, Randy, and I do believe Andrews is going to score at least 1, maybe 2 touchdowns in a high-scoring affair. I've got Baltimore winning a high-scoring game, and Andrews is my favorite Thanksgiving Day kind of fun little player in daily.
So there are some ways that you can play that include the 3 Thanksgiving Day games and the game on Friday. There is a game on Black Friday, Chicago at Philadelphia. It's a 2:00 start in the afternoon in Philly. The number's 44.5. The Eagles are a 7-point favorite, which when you look at the records, I mean, the Bears are 8-3, but Vegas isn't going to give them a lot of love in this game this week. And I also think that coming off the loss to Dallas, the Eagles are going to be primed to prove themselves this week. On the Bears side, I mean, what can you say? They lead the division. They're 8-3. Caleb Williams has been fabulous. DJ Moore finally woke up last week, caught a couple of touchdown passes. Manungai, 60% of the running back share. It feels like that's starting to shift towards him, certainly in the red zone for sure. But he's getting more carries, it looks like, per game anyway. Loveland has been a nice surprise for the Bears at tight end. Certainly has completely passed Kmet as far as the receiving part of that tight end position for the Bears. There's a lot to play here. I mean, you can play this as a single game on daily, and you could throw all sorts of different pieces out there, and I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. I think the Eagles will win the football game. I like the number. But Chicago's going to play tough, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that would be surprised if the Bears ended up winning this football game just because the way they are playing. I will say this: I have 2 teams left in knockout pool, and the Thanksgiving Day 3 games and the Friday game are bunched as one.
Ooh.
Not Sunday's different, right? And I'm riding the Eagles, baby. I've been saving the Eagles all year. And the beginning of the year, Kevin, I thought, wow, this is perfect because the Bears are
no-brainer.
No-brainer. Well, now it's a little scary now because the Bears are a decent team. On the Eagles side, I say fire them up because I think they're going to be PO'd after losing that game to Dallas in the way that they did. They were up 21 points in that game. You can play Jalen Hurts. You can stack him with Brown and Smith, even Goddard. Barkley's come out this week and said, I'm in a funk. I can't tell you what's going on. We've seen it pretty much all year. Wouldn't surprise me, though, if this is the game that he breaks out and does something. Vegas says the Eagles will win 26-19. Kind of feels like that kind of a game for me. But I would say if I'm playing players in this game, I'm going to go to the Eagles side. I'm going to play Jalen Hurts for sure, find a stack, and then maybe bring back Manungai on the other side, just because I figure the Bears will get inside the 5-yard line at least once in this football game. Let's move on to the Sunday games. We'll start with the noon game, San Francisco at Cleveland, and Kevin's got that game.
Yeah, this is one of those games on Sunday where I think you're going to see people migrate towards the running backs and maybe one of the tight ends, but a sneaky spot for Cleveland. I really think there could be an upset brewing here. Keep an eye on the game. San Fran around 6.5 point favorite, over under around 41.5 or 42. I didn't love the way Brock Purdy looked on Monday Night Football, and this Cleveland defense, Randy, they are rock ribbed. Yeah, they are legit. And in what could be some cold weather, I would say pack a lunch on the San Fran side. So if you're going to start Purdy, I wouldn't expect any kind of a blow-up game. You're praying for 2 touchdowns out of Brock Purdy. McCaffrey's still a no-brainer. He can run, he can catch. It doesn't matter what the weather is. He catches those dunk passes, ends up with 6, 8, 10 catches a game. So McCaffrey's still a beast, and you're going to fire him up, no problem. I love what I'm seeing from George Kittle. Still a great blocking tight end, but they're getting him more involved in the passing game. And the one receiver that's really evolved now into the go-to guy is Juwan Jennings. He's a big-bodied guy. Even if it's a little windy or cold, he can still make something happen in those scoring areas as well. I'm laying off Ricky Pearsall. He's kind of become a non-factor in this offense right now. And I don't love the way that San Francisco's moving the football. On the Cleveland side, a tip of the hat to Shadur Sanders. He had a great game last week, albeit against a terrible Las Vegas Raiders team. I hope you're not looking to start him in fantasy, but it's kind of a cool story. Fun to see Dion welcome him to his first start as he went down the tunnel. Your guy, Randy, and you were on this guy in September. I'm going to give you major kudos for Quinshon Judkins. He has been so good all year long. Multiple touchdowns again last week. I think he could be in a really good spot against a San Francisco team that's been very susceptible to the run this year. Other than that, I don't like much on the Cleveland side. Jerry Jeudy's not consistent. Fannin and Njoku kind of cancel each other out, but I am very excited to see what that Cleveland defense can do, and they likely will be a team I will focus in on daily. That group is awesome.
All right, let's move on to Jacksonville, Tennessee. It's a noon start. The number's 41.5. Jacksonville's a 7-point favorite. It's pretty simple for me. Play ETN. He's the one guy in this game that I think can have multiple touchdowns and can help your team, whether it's daily or your season-long team. Yeah, Brenton Strange came back. He had 93 yards receiving last week. That's a sneaky tight end in this game for sure. And Trevor Lawrence loves him. So that possibility is there. Jacoby Myers is, the receiving core it's got to be one of the biggest disappointments of the NFL season is what happened to Brian Thomas and the receiving core in Jacksonville. It's a mess. And because it's a mess, to me, ETN is the best play in this game. I do love the Jacksonville defense in this game. This is a big game for Jacksonville.
Yes.
Because they are on the verge of, making the playoffs and being in a good spot, and you cannot afford to lose a game like this in Tennessee. On the Titan side, 0, nothing, nada, not a damn thing.
Nope.
Yes, I know Gunnar Helm or whatever his name is, the tight end, looked like he's got some nothing, 0.
I'm with you.
Don't even bother. Okay, let's move on. Kevin's got the Houston-Indianapolis game, which should be a lot of fun. There's some intriguing parts to this football game.
This is a huge game, major playoff ramifications, and you get that really diverse Indianapolis offense against one of the best defenses on the Houston side in football. The storyline really does with CJ Stroud and his availability. And again, it's 2 weeks off the concussion. So I think he's got a fair chance to play. They gave him some extra time off. Monitor that, but CJ Stroud should be in a decent position if he plays to put up some fantasy numbers. The backfield is Woody Marks and Nick Chubb. You can take a dart throw, but you're not going to use these guys in season long, at least not successfully, in my opinion. Nico Collins is still a top 12 receiver in the league. In my opinion, he's a stud. And the youngster Jaden Higgins continues to develop. And Higgins is a cheap option in daily, something you might want to consider. You're probably not going to start him in season long, but he's on the waiver wire in many leagues, and he's certainly someone to consider. Their tight end is Dalton Schultz. He's not great, but he's not bad. He's kind of just one of those guys. If you have an injury, you need a fill-in guy. That's kind of the guy you're going to use. The Indy side is all about the big dogs, and the big three. Daniel Jones having a great year at quarterback, start him. Jonathan Taylor, no-brainer, best player in fantasy. Tyler Warren, really good tight end. Now, they're going against a good defense, so they're not going to put up record-breaking numbers. The over-under is 47. Indy's a roughly 4-point favorite. Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce are options in cheap daily situations, but likely not a lot you're going to love about them in season long. Pittman is a kind of a red zone sneaky guy, scored last week. Great game. I think it's going to be under the total. I think it's going to be a tight, low-scoring 20-17 game. So great for football, not absolutely great for us in fantasy.
Yep, totally agree. All right, let's go to New Orleans and Miami. Noon start on Sunday. The number's 42.5. The Dolphins are 5.5-point favorites. On the Saints side, garbage. It's just, Taysom Hill carried the ball actually 10 times. That's probably the biggest headline from last week's Saints game. Devin Neal, I'm sure a lot of people will be looking on the waiver wire this week to pick him up. I don't.
No, thank you.
I don't see him doing much of anything really. Yes, Olave, you got to play him because he does get some volume. Juwan Johnson, I think, are certainly playable too, but there's just not a lot, even against the Miami defense. There's just not really a lot here to trust. No. The Dolphins are coming off the bye. I love Achane. I think Achane is my favorite player of the week. Going up against the Saints at home, Miami has kind of figured out some things. He can run the ball. He can catch the ball. They love him there. He just gets the volume, and he's going against a defense that he can do some damage to. So I really love him this week. Certainly Tua and Waddle. You can stack the two together. Feels like a 24-10 kind of a game for Miami. So there's really not a lot here to love. But I think Achane is probably my number one player in this game this week, and especially because they're at home and they're playing a Saints team that is basically have packed it up for the season.
Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Masonic Charities. When you think about the Masons, I get it. You think about the funny hats, those pancake breakfasts, which are phenomenal. My dear friend John Schweitz and I have chatted about this, and it's so much more than that. They've got the Masonic home over in Bloomington. They've got the hospital for the children over at the U of M. They are the largest fraternal organization in terms of charitable needs in our country, and they deserve a ton of recognition. So thank you, Minnesota Masonic Charities, for all you do and for supporting us over here at Talk North, and a special thanks to my good friend, John Schweitz.
I'm used to the phrase old man, but when you add the word winter, well, then you're not talking about me. I'm here for Aquarius Home Services, and don't let old man winter freeze you out. Get a furnace tune-up for just $29 so you can keep him out and maybe invite me in. I like warm and cozy, and I know you do too. Schedule your $29 furnace tune-up today at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended. 10K Construction is your one stop for all your general contracting needs, whether interior, exterior, residential, commercial, or multifamily properties. They build relationships with their clients, and that's how they've grown their business through referrals. Plus, they are teaming up with LP SmartSide to become Minnesota's premier siding installer. And they're also partnering with IKO Shingles as well. They've got the best of the best to do the job right. 10K Construction covers both Minnesota and Wisconsin. Now, the rumor is they charge a little extra because it's Packer land. I'm not sure about that, but what I am sure about, 10K Construction is the company you want handling all of your general contracting needs. Go to 10kconstruction.com for details.
Hey, Rosie here for Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than my good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they have got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
Let's go to Atlanta and the Jets.
Yikes.
Oh, this is a barn burner.
This is a turd of a game. These two teams will not be in the playoffs. 39.5 is the total. You can pick and choose here. I'll start with Atlanta. Kirk Cousins. We all know him well in these parts. Listen, you're not going to start him in season long. If you want to get crazy in daily and throw a cheap option at him, go for it. I can't do it myself. Bijan Robinson, you're still going to play him. Jets defense is sneaky good, but Bijan's a talented player. Kyle Pitts, kind of like the aforementioned tight end Dalton Schultz. He's a guy. He's not great, but he's a guy. Darnell Mooney's one to watch in this game just because he and Cousins had a big play last week and they've had a little chemistry. So if you're going to play Cousins and go for the moon, I think Mooney's the guy you want to link up to him.
Doesn't play.
Yeah, and London is a question mark. And when you're Atlanta and you're sitting in this position, why would you risk it with your best player? So we'll see. Tyrod Taylor, the starter for the Jets. Again, please no, don't do it to yourself. Breece Hall's a nice player. He doesn't have a lot of help around him. He's a really nice player. He caught 4 balls last week for 75 yards. So in daily, he does catch the football, and he is absolutely usable. Atlanta's defense is decent. So again, tread lightly, but Breece Hall, you can start. The guy that's flaky is John Mechie. He had 65 on a tutty. It's a daily fantasy dart throw. That's about it. Their tight end is Mason Taylor. He's okay. There's just not a lot of like in this game, Randy. Another one of those 16-13, 19-16 kind of games I don't have any interest in watching or doing much with in daily fantasy.
2 really good running backs who in the prime of their careers has just been wasted by 2 terrible football teams.
Jeez.
You kind of feel bad for him, especially for Bijan. I mean, there was a lot of conversation that this year could be a kind of a breakout year for Atlanta in some way, and it just never happened. And it just is not. I mean, the guy's a great talent, but it just gets wasted and forgotten about a lot as you get to this part of the season. Just really kind of sad. All right, Arizona, Tampa Bay, noon start. The number's 48.5. The Bucs are 6-point favorites. Jacoby Brissett just keeps on throwing the football.
Yes.
So if you've got Arizona receivers, you got to play him. I mean, Trey McBride is a monster. With or without Harrison on the field, he is just averaging 22, 23 fantasy points a game. Doesn't matter. The target share for him has dropped because of Michael Wilson, because Michael Wilson's been incredible.
Yes.
15 targets last week, 10 catches, 118 yards. If you look at his 2-week combination, it's mind-boggling. And why this guy was so far down on the depth chart and didn't get a chance to play is
what the hell?
It's an indictment on the coaching staff, if you ask me, because this guy has been really good. The teams have been piling it up on the Bucs. So I think you got to look at Arizona as a team that's going to put some points on the board this week. And I think their passing game is likely where you can find it. So I would stack Brissett and Michael Wilson. Why not? I mean, until he proves that somebody can stop him, why would you go away from it? And Trey McBride is still the best tight end in football. There's nothing on the running game side for Arizona that interests me at all. On the Bucs side, it depends on Baker Mayfield, right? If Baker doesn't play, they're a trash pile. So I have zero interest in anything Tampa Bay if Baker Mayfield doesn't play. If you look at Bouquet's numbers, the first 5 games of the year, he had 445 yards and 5 touchdowns. In the last 6 games, 300 yards and a touchdown. So his production has just tailed off considerably. And I think that kind of coincides with the way Tampa's been playing in the last few weeks too, right? I know Godwin is back. He had a couple of catches last week, but he's a non-factor really at this point in the year. The Bucs are fighting for their playoff lives. So this is a very important game for Tampa, regardless of whether Baker plays or not. So you got to take that into consideration when you look at this game. But to be totally honest with you, there's really not, if I'm playing daily fantasy with a smaller slate on Sunday, I still don't. Michael Wilson is probably the only player I would consider, and that's because his price tag is like $6,300. Or no, I take that back. It's $7,100 this week. So that's still pretty dang cheap for the production that he's been putting out there this week. But there's really not a lot, even though the number is good. I don't know. Maybe Kevin, you have a different opinion about this game. I just don't. There's just nothing here that really gets me excited.
Well, I did stack Brissett and Wilson last week and had some success in daily, and I am going to do it again. Look, to your point, until they prove that they're not going to put up big numbers, and I don't like Tampa's defense. They have been very, very susceptible to passing. Last week, in the first half alone, Stafford threw for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I have no reason not to stack Brissett and Wilson again. So that's where I'm going. And if Bridgewater starts, there's not a Buccaneer I want to touch. And I know Bucky Irving might come back, but I don't like where this Tampa
Why would Bucky Irving come back in this game?
Well, they have to make the playoffs. This is a must win. I mean, they've been waiting. I know if you're Tampa, it's a tough spot.
It is. And by the way, Marvin Harrison is questionable this week. So keep an eye on that. I don't think that changes Wilson's situation a lot. It may change McBride's a little bit, but I think that Wilson is, again, as we both have said, until they prove they're not going to throw the ball to him, I think you got to check that out as part of what you're thinking about for fantasy. The last game in the noon slate is the Rams at Carolina on Sunday at noon.
Yeah, in my opinion, as we get to Thanksgiving, that usually gives us a pretty good window into the Super Bowl and what it's going to be all about. The Rams look like the favorite to me, and they're a legitimate one. They look like a wagon right now. 9.5 or 10-point favorite here on the road. Over under 45.5, 46. And Carolina, if you watch the game Monday night, had multiple players in the secondary get hurt. And so to me, this just looks like Stafford is going to pick them apart. He's in prime form right now. I will look for all kinds of shares of Matthew Stafford. I love Puka Nacua. Devontae Adams, we'll keep saying it. You have to keep finding a way to get him the ball in the red zone because he's the best red zone receiver in the National Football League. Inside the 5-yard line, nobody gets more targets. Puka Nacua's all over the field. Kyron Williams is a great player, but he's an afterthought when they get in the red zone because they really trust Matthew Stafford more. Kyron's had a couple of key fumbles in the red zone this year, and they've gone more to a passing attack inside the 5, which is rare. But again, the Rams have such good receivers. Why wouldn't you? So the big four are all startable. On the Carolina side, this Rams defense is legit. The good news is they're at home and they're going to be playing in chase mode. Bryce Young is a dart throw. Rico Dowdle, I believe you can start because he catches the football, but Chuba Hubbard got a little run on Monday night, so I'm a little bit leery there in season long. And the one guy I want in the receiver core is Tet McMillan. This guy is an absolute stud, the rookie out of Arizona. He's so talented. I will fire up Tet in my season longs, in my guillotine. I love the man. But yeah, I look for the Rams here to put a hurting on them. They want to be the 1 seed. They don't want to go back to Philadelphia and lose in cold weather like they did last year. So I don't think they're going to overlook this Carolina team. I think they win by double digits.
All right, let's move on to the 3:00 games. We'll start with the Vikings game in Seattle, 3:05 start. The number's 42.5, and Seattle's almost a 10-point favorite. That's all you really need to know. J.J. McCarthy has ruined Justin Jefferson's fantasy potential. He just has ruined it. I mean, if you drafted Jefferson in the top 10, which you should have, he's just ruined it. McCarthy was dreadful last week. He's in the concussion protocol. We'll see what
quote,
that
unquote.
means, or he found that out on the plane ride back. So we'll see what that means. Check in with Kevin because Friday we may know more about their situation. Max Brosmer may very well get his first start. There is nothing on the Vikings side that I like. There's nothing because Seattle's defense is good, and Seattle is. This is a huge game for them. They are primed to make some things happen this year. They're a game back of the Rams, and they're playing really well. We saw that last week with JSN, who just had an enormous day. 8 catches and 167. 6 games left. He already has set the Seattle Seahawks single-season receiving record, and he's on pace to break Calvin Johnson's record of 1,964 yards in a season set back in 2012. He's on pace to have 2,029 yards. That's how good he's been. And don't tell me that Sam Darnold doesn't want to light it up against the Vikings. There's no doubt in my mind that this probably circled this game a long time ago.
Yes.
I love Sam Darnold this week. I wish JSN is so damn expensive.
That's
on
okay.
FanDuel. He's $10,000. Okay.
Don't be afraid of that.
I get it. I'm sure you're probably going to play that. I would play it. I tried to find a lineup that worked with that. I just couldn't because it's just so much. But there's a reason for that because those two guys together are so good. So you definitely need to think about stacking Darnold and JSN together. The running attack for Seattle, might very well get in the end zone this week. We saw Charbonnet do it last week. Walker could, any one of them could, but it's a dart throw.
Yeah.
Good luck picking the right one. The one thing I really like this week is the Seattle defense. They're the most expensive on FanDuel at 5,000, but there's a reason for that because
Max
if they're going,
Brosmer.
if they're going up against even McCarthy, if they're
Right.
going to, it doesn't matter who the Vikings put at quarterback. It doesn't matter. They could bring Fran back at 84 years old. Actually, he might be pretty good. But I'm just saying Seattle's defense to me is obviously Darnold and JSN, no doubt, but on daily, super, super expensive on the JSN side. So let's go to Buffalo and Pittsburgh and talk about a big game for two teams. Again, fantasy-wise, there's some good pieces, but man, the game itself is so big.
Huge for both these teams. And, Buffalo keeps shooting themselves in the foot, and they went from a team that looked like they might have the 1 seed in the AFC to now a team that's just scrambling to really make it and have a chance to play a home game. It's 4.5 points they're favored by. It's 47.5. There are question marks on the Pittsburgh side at the most important position, but let's start with Josh Allen. He had a tough go of it against Houston. It was a mini bye situation here. He takes a beating every year because of how much he runs the football. So to have a little extra time off, saw him go back and get honored back at Wyoming last Saturday. I think Josh Allen is primed to have a big bounce back game. So you can fire him up in a daily fantasy. You can try to find him and afford him because I think he'll pay you off this week. James Cook, the running back, love him as well. Pittsburgh has not been great against the run this year. And Dalton Kincaid is a question mark coming in, but he's another guy. Tight ends have had some luck against the Steelers. I'm going to keep an eye on his health. I don't like the wide receiver core. It's a mess. Khalil Shakir is the best one, but he's not consistent enough. I'm going to focus in on Josh Allen, maybe play him naked, as you like to say. We don't know about A-Rod yet. Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph is the backup. He's not great, but that A-Rod situation will be one to watch all the way into the weekend. Jaylen Warren, to me, is still a running back I like to start because he catches the football and he consistently puts up 12 to 18 to 20 fantasy points every single week. DK Metcalf off a good game in a good spot against a Buffalo secondary that's been abused this year. I think DK Metcalf could have a nice game. I'm not touching their tight ends. I'm not touching Calvin Austin. I think it's going to be a great football game to watch. And other than Josh Allen and maybe a guy like Jaylen Warren or DK Metcalf, I'm not going to get too crazy.
All right. Last game in the 3:00 slate, part of the main slate for FanDuel, is Vegas at the Chargers, 3:25 start. The number's 42.5, and the Chargers are 10-point favorites. They should be 20-point favorites in this game. The Raiders.
Oof.
What a mess. I mean, I actually gave them the benefit of the doubt when the season started that they might be okay. They have spiraled into just an abyss. Yes, you can play Genty, sure. But I don't even like Bowers this week. I just don't trust anything on the Vegas side. And that's a rebuild that's going to take more than a year. It's a mess out there right now. And their defense is just not very good, which is why I love the Chargers this week. Coming off the bye, it's a get right spot for Justin Herbert. Gadsden has gone quiet over the last few weeks. I think he's going to have a huge game bouncing back against this Raiders team. I love stacking those two. I love Vidal at the running back spot. I think the Chargers are the number is 42.5, and the Chargers could win this game 42-0. Very easily could not reach the number yet score all the points in this game. I just think the Chargers are such a big spot for them. I love their defense this week at home against this terrible Vegas team. It just sets up to be such a big game. And it's a big game for the Chargers. They need to win. So there's a lot of things that I love about this game. I love Herbert. I love stacking with Gadsden. You could throw Keenan Allen and other guys in there if you wanted to, but I just think that this is a get right spot for the Chargers this week. Let's go to the Sunday night game. It's Denver at Washington. Ooh, here we go.
Yeah, my Broncos are back off the bye week, off a giant win against Kansas City. 6-point favorites. The total's 43.5. I worry a little bit about the letdown, but they had the bye week to kind of let that dissolve. Bo Nix, to me, is super playable against a Washington defense that's not been very good this year. Bo Nix can run the football. I think he can have success in the air. So can R.J. Harvey. With J.K. Dobbins banged up, R.J. Harvey's in a good spot. If Denver plays from in front, he can explode and make some big plays. Cortland Sutton's gone quiet, but I think over the bye week, they want to get their best receiver back into the fold. I'm going to fire him back up in a couple of my season longs. I think Cortland Sutton is set to have a decent game. After that, you're looking at Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant, some of those guys. They're just dart throws, but focus in on Bo Nix. You can hook him up with Sutton, or you can play R.J. Harvey. On the Washington side, Marcus Mariota, he's a solid NFL backup, but he's still a backup. He does run the football, and he does run sometimes in the red zone. I'm not touching their running backs. Rodriguez was the guy that got the lion's share the last time we saw him. He had 15 carries for 79 yards. I don't know if Washington's going to be able to run the football against this defense, Randy. I really don't.
No.
Deebo Samuel has been banged up but has some extra time off to recover. He had 7 catches, 74 yards, and a touchdown the last time we saw them play, which was the game overseas when they played Miami. It's been a while. Maybe he was able to rest up. I think Deebo's sneaky here. I think Deebo could be a nice guy for you if you're going to play that game involved in one of your fantasies for the weekend. After that, Zach Ertz is just a tight end, and Terry McLaurin's still hurt and doubtful. I think Denver wins a close one, and I think it's a game where I'm going to focus in on Deebo Samuel and R.J. Harvey.
I'm sure when NBC stacked all these games together, and they looked at Thanksgiving Day and they said, okay, we got Cincinnati, Baltimore. That'll be a really good matchup. And we've got Denver and Washington. It's set up to be what a dog of a game it's turned out to be
very
in Washington because of all the injuries to the Commanders. All right, last game on the slate is the Giants at New England. And I actually really like this game. I think it's going to be fun. And I say that because I think the Giants, you got to give them some credit. I mean, they're playing their butts off.
How about some of those play calls last week?
Yeah, I know, but they're
fun.
Yeah, they're playing hard. They should have beaten Detroit in regulation. I mean, They should have, but they didn't. So I'm glad that this one's not on the main slate, only because there's some tricky pieces to this one too. The Giants side, how about Wan'Dale Robinson? 156 yards last week. Here's his target share of the last 4 games. 34%, 33%, 31%, 42%.
Oof.
And that's with Jameis Winston last week, who, probably could start for like 5 other NFL teams.
Vikings would take him.
Yeah, he's really been good. Their running game is a mix. I mean, Tracy and Singletary, depends on if they're in the red zone. Singletary's usually the guy there, but Tracy's getting the ball too. So there's some pieces there to this game for you if you're playing this as a single game and trying to figure out who would I bring back, because you're going to start Drake May on the other side more than likely. So Wan'Dale Robinson to me is the clear piece for the Giants. The Patriots, again, it's broken record. Drake May is just really good, and he's played really well. They're the best team in the AFC, and they play like it. So he's just having a banner season. The Giants will play him tough, so I know the number's 48.5 and New England's a 7-point favorite, but I think that number kind of might be too high. I think this is going to be a little bit more low scoring than what we might expect. The one player I'm anxious to watch is Travion Henderson, who 72% of the carry share last week. He ran 22 pass routes. He's established himself as the guy. I know that Ramonde inside the 5, I don't know if he fumbled or didn't get in or something like that. There's just no confidence with Stevenson. So to me, Drake May and Travion are the best pieces, with maybe bringing Wan'Dale Robinson back on the other side. But it's going to be a fun game because obviously New England's at home. It's an East Coast game. The Giants have been playing pretty well. They've been showing up, that's for sure.
For sure.
And, so I think there's some good pieces to to look at in this game. All right, we've got to move on to our keyword for this week. Excited to announce we're giving away 2 Vikings tickets for the Christmas Day game to our Fantasy Huddle listeners. Each week, we share a code word during this podcast. To enter, simply fill out the Google form with your name, date, and this week's code word. You can submit a new form each week with a new code word for extra chances to win. You can find the Google form in the description or on any of our social media pages. The lucky winner will be announced on December 10th. So the code word for the week is, Kevin?
Randy?
Vikings.
Oh, boy.
That's the code word, Kevin.
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
And listen, it's Christmas
I thought
Day.
you had it written down. It's Vikings.
I did not this week. I did last week. It was much more fun last week. And listen, people, don't be down about the Vikings, because the in-stadium experience on Christmas Day, when you've had enough of all your relatives, we love them to death, but at some point, it's time to get back to football.
Yeah.
Get to the stadium, get the purple and gold paint, get the Helga horn going. Let's have some fun.
And they're playing the Lions. So,
which is always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be
right.
great.
So that's the code word for this week. It's Vikings. And I don't think I need to spell it for you. So I think we're good. All right, let's move on to our PPR lineups. Smaller main slate on Sunday because of Thanksgiving Day and the Friday game. So this is what I got. I'm going to go my best PPR lineup. This doesn't matter about Thanksgiving and Black Friday. It's the FanDuel one that we care about with the shorter slate. But I like Lamar Jackson this week. I know he's banged up, but I like him this week to get right against the Bengals team that is awful. And I think it could be a shootout a little bit. If Burrows plays, it could go back and forth, which would make Jackson even more interesting in this game. I love H.N. He's my favorite player this week. Derrick Henry, I love him in this game. I think he's going to get multiple touchdowns against the Bengals. You got to go JSN. You just can't shy away from him. He's just too good. I like Rashee Rice. I love that Dallas Kansas City game. I think you've got to get some pieces of that game, which is why my last 3 players in my PPR are Rice at receiver, Kelsey at the tight end, and Pickens at the flex. I just think that Dallas KC game is going to go back and forth and be high scoring. And I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that game. So my PPR lineup this week, it does include some Thanksgiving Day game players: Lamar Jackson, Achane, Henry, JSN, Rice, Kelsey, and Pickens.
Yeah, I like a lot of those plays, and you're going to hear me duplicate some of them, even though we don't have a pre-production meeting. I love Lamar Jackson this week against Cincy. I think he is going to have a huge, huge game. I'm all over Lamar. I'm going to use whatever Packers running back gets the start. If Jacobs is hurt, I love Wilson. If Jacobs goes, they're not going to risk anything. They're going to give him the ball. And with Tucker Kraft hurt in the red zone, they are running the football into the end zone. Wilson scored 2 as the backup last week. I like Chase Brown with Burrow back. Makes him a completely different running back. Went over 100 rushing last week. He's going to catch the football, especially in chase mode in a game they're likely trailing at Baltimore. I'm with you. I love George Pickens. He is kind of taken over as the alpha receiver in Dallas. He's a beast. Speaking of beasts, A.J. Brown woke up last week, 8 for $110 and a touchdown in a game that Philadelphia is going to really try to set the tone against a Chicago team that's overachieved with a soft schedule. I think A.J. Brown feasts on Thanksgiving weekend. I'm with you on Kelsey. Kelsey's been consistently good, 6 to 10 catches every single week. And at flex, if you can find a better player in the National Football League than Jahmyr Gibbs, please show me. This kid is electric.
I will say that the Green Bay defense will pose some interesting issues for Gibbs, I think, this week. Love that. All right, let's move on to the FanDuel Sunday slate, the main slate. And again, a lot of games aren't being played as part of this slate. So here's my lineup. I'm going to go with Justin Herbert. I love the Chargers this week against the Vegas team. So Herbert's my quarterback at 8,300. My running backs are Achane at 8,700 and Vidal at 6,700. My receivers are Shakir from Buffalo. I think Buffalo is going to be kind of a shootout game. They need to win. He woke up last week. He had like a 25% receiving target share, and made some big plays for them. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come. Michael Wilson at 7,100. I'm not going to shy away. Let's play the guy because until they prove that he can't, that somebody's going to stop him, I'm going to play him in this game against Tampa. I have to go cheaper on a few things. So my other receiver is Waddle in the Miami-New Orleans game. The Saints are terrible. And Miami, they're terrible too. But I'm going to go with Waddle because Tua loves to throw to him. I think that they'll have a decent day against the Saints. And I needed a receiver in the 7,000 range. So that's what I went with. My tight end is Gadsden. I told you this. I'm going to stack these guys against Vegas. The Chargers, I think, are just going to blow the doors off of Vegas this week and score a ton of points. My flex guy is Tyler Warren. He's been so quiet over the last few weeks. They play Houston in a monster game. And maybe they just need, like, their backs to the wall at home, need a win to fire Warren back up. I'm hoping so. And the reason why I look at this, his price has dropped to 6,300 on FanDuel. And sometimes when you are putting lineups together, you've got to look at when guys have had off weeks and their price drops, but you know they're a great player. You can't shy away from that. In fact, that's the time you want to pounce. So I'm hoping that's the case. And I'm taking Warren this week. My defense is Miami against the Saints. Wow. Miami's at home against the Saints. They're 3,700. I had to find a cheap defense because I spent a lot up top. So here's my FanDuel lineup. Justin Herbert at quarterback, Achane and Vidal at running backs, Shakir, Wilson, Waddle. They're not going to scare anybody, but they're decent receivers. Gadsden's my tight end this week. Tyler Warren is my flex, and Miami is my defense. Kevin?
I like it, Randy. I like it a lot. I'm going to come right back to a lineup I cashed on last week, and I'm going to start with Jacoby Brissett as my quarterback against an awful pass defense on the Tampa side. He is 7,600, so it's a decent price. And with that comes the hookup to Michael Wilson. Still 7,100, guy you used, guy that's just gone off the last 2 weeks with 25 catches against Tampa. I think they're in line for a big week again. I'm going to stick with receivers. I'm going to go with a cheap option here, John Mechie of the Jets. He's got a little something with Tyrod Taylor, and against Atlanta, who has nothing to play for, I think you could find him in the end zone again this week like he was last week. My lineup is predicated on two big price guys, and it starts with Jackson, Smith, and Jigba. I believe that Sam Darnold has had this game circled like you since summer. I believe that the Seahawks want to give him a chance to really go and show Minnesota what he can do. And even though every single team game plans to stop JSN, he is the highest scoring receiver every single week.
I'm so surprised that you didn't stack Darnold with him because Darnold is cheaper than Brissett.
I have to go back to where I cashed last week, and I believe in Brissett, and I believe in the game flow too. I also think that Arizona is going to be trailing, and I think at some point, if Seattle's up 35-0 at the half, they're not going to keep throwing. So JSN's 10,000. You mentioned it. It's a big price to pay. My tight end, like you, is Gadsden. I think it's all about the Chargers and all about getting him right. He's a key piece, and Harbaugh loves to use the tight end. 5,900 is a steal on him. So now we get to the tricky part of the equation. I went with a big priced running back. I went with Achane, the Miami back, 8,700. So I put myself into a little bit of a box. So now, if you play daily, you've got to swing with some cheap options.
You've got Achane and JSN. Well, that's almost 19,000.
There's a tariff to be paid, and there's two players you're going to hear right now where you might want to get the vomit bag here because I am starting Devin Neal at 5,900, the Saints back, hoping against all hope he can catch 4 or 5 footballs. And I know that Taysom Hill got 10 carries last week, but Kamara got hurt last week, and now they've had a chance to give this kid a chance with the first team and get the reps. I'm praying he can get something around 10 or 15 fantasy points. It gets worse, if you can believe that, than Devin Neal, because I'm using my Cleveland Browns in the defense, and they're not cheap at 3,900. So now, when you hear the flex, this is where you might want to get that bag out. I have got Jalen Nailor at 5,000 now. Hold on. He's $5,000. He's got 3 touchdowns this year. And in garbage time, when Justin Jefferson finally throws a fit and says, I've had enough, Jalen Nailor is going to score in garbage time. You can mark the tape right now. Nailor touchdown coming in garbage time. Brissett, Neal, Achen, Wilson, Mechie, JSN, Gadsden, Nailor, and the Cleveland Browns. We are rolling the dice, Mr. Shaver.
Yes, you are. Wow. Oh, my God. All right. Very good. Well, that's it for this edition of Fantasy Huddle. Kevin will be back on Friday to give you updates about weather and players so that you can make your best choices. Good luck on Thanksgiving Day. Hope everybody has a safe and happy holiday on Thanksgiving Day. Enjoy the food, the football, and the family with all that. Our thanks to Aquarius Home Services, 10K Construction, Minnesota Masonic Charities, and Lexus of Maplewood and Wayzata. Once again, the keyword this week for the Vikings tickets is Vikings.
Vikings.
Good luck. There's one more week of keywords, and then we'll be drawing for those 2 tickets on December 10th. Kevin, thanks. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you next week.